So today in the shop, boy, we had a little bit of an adventure here with our parts. We were expecting snow in the afternoon, so I kind of got a nice early start. Brought all the parts in that had dried overnight from the garage. Look at his face. I love this picture. This is before I have my coffee. Cranky. Karen has to look at that over coffee. Anyway, we did, just making a joke with that picture. We did bring our parts in, and they dried up like glass. It was just beautiful. When they dry in that cold weather, now the trick is to bring everything in. The next part of this job, and it's very involved and very complicated, is to get a paint blend. And I don't know exactly if I'm going to be able to do that like I planned. But of course, it's in an inconspicuous spot on a bike. So I hope even if it isn't perfect, we'll still be happy with the job, of course, and make the most out of what we have here. But I did do the thing with 2000 grit paper. I showed that up close and personal. Had to move the paint line up, which is a good technique that I've used in modeling many, many years. This repair itself is going to take 2 or 3 days, depending on how smooth that line is when I bring the tape up, but it first has to dry overnight. So I did get out before the snow came. I did get out and I was able to get the red on, the first coat of red, and the day ended on a very, very successful note. Even I was impressed. See, you can see in the picture how good that color matches. So this morning we wake up, the part has dried up overnight in the garage, just as nice as you possibly could be. And this is going to allow us to do a color match to the other part. Once we get the tin foil off it, we got to bring this down the cellar now. This is the next step on this is going to be the decals are coming from Australia. And can you believe the Italian decals coming from Australia, delivered by kangaroos through the Polish Air Force? It just couldn't be any funnier. Joe, it's turning out to be a funny story, but next step on this is get this down in the cellar where it's warm and it can dry up by a heating vent. Same thing with our GS wheel. The idea is to get everything down in the cellar where it's nice and warm. It could dry for, in the case of the wheel, minimum 3 days up by a heating vent. And when we really get clogged up, like we have parts here and parts, everything trying to dry, I get them all on a work table. I'll rearrange the work table so everything can be under a heating vent. Now, I was hoping there would be some sun today. Not a lot of sun that we can see this. But Joe's going to be coming over once we get the decals, and he'll make the decision how the color matches. In the meantime, we have the other fairing side to work on. Now, as I'm looking at the wheel real close, I'm trying to decide if I want to buff this out or not buff it out, and I don't know. Well, that decision will be made once this dries up. Now, it's always good, and in my case, it dries 24 hours, 18 hours, whatever, it doesn't matter. And we put this by a heating vent. Now I have two choices. I have the heating vent in the cellar where some of this is still outgassing, so there's still a little bit of an odor. But then once it's dry, I can take it upstairs up into where the rooms have much bigger heating vents, and this will be at a much warmer temperature than if it was in the cellar. And 2 or 3 days we'll let it sit there, and then that paint, what happens, that paint gets nice and rock hard, and you can grind on it, buff it, polish it, mount the tire, mount the curvy girl, whatever. But if you try rushing it while paint is soft, you make yourself a mess. So I was hoping we'd have some sunlight, but you know what? Yeah, the sun's a little bit, not that much. You could see how that paint's going to lay up, but 3 days, 4 days from now, that paint should be rock hard. And when it's this cold several times a day, I've got to do my ice chopping thing. Well, this is where we want our wheel to be drying until it stops having the smell of outgassing. And then we can put it up by the big heating vent on the upper floor. Alright, so now the heat is kicking on. Everything's under a heating vent. You can see how much closer that milk crate makes it a little bit closer. Keeps it a little bit warmer for the next couple days, and we just put up with the smell, I guess is the right word. But This guy's got to dry also, and I always like to let it dry an extra day. And then the big job we have today, I'm going to peel back the tin foil. I'm going to start working on this area, a very, very light sanding here, and then move this tape up and try to get this red sprayed before we get any indication of snow. And there is snow scheduled for later today, but you know, the weatherman's never right. So the first step on this is going to be to remove this tin foil just as carefully as I can. And this will give me a little view, and even though we don't have any sunlight out there, see, the problem is I want to see how this looks in sunlight. And I hope the day Joe comes over with the decals, we can put them side by side in the sun. Now, this part, believe it or not, has a lot of little repairs to be done on it. This is only the least of them, is doing this bottom part. But now, the trick is, and it's the most difficult thing that I know of in painting, is to get a blend from one color to another without having it look bad. Luckily, if it's not exactly perfect, this is in a part of the motorcycle, it's not really visible. But what happens is, it's this blend line, and I have a way that I'm going to show that I do it, that I've done it with model plane repairs that work, well, you don't. It's a repair. So this line where the paint ends and the new paint begins is the critical thing, is to get that just to blend in. Now what I do is, once I get the tin foil off, I'm going to sand that edge, of course, and go up onto the new parts with some probably 2000 grit. And get that as smooth as I can so you can't feel that line. And then move that, put the new layer of tape, and paint this way so it doesn't build up an edge. Shoot down in this direction with a very dry coat of paint. Let it dry overnight. Move the tape up. Shoot it again. Move the tape up. Shoot it again. Because we want to blend that line in. And believe me, of all painting things you ever try to do is to blend new paint to old paint. And then the idea is then I would scuff the whole part up. At the very end, scuff it all up and put new clear on top of everything if the paint matches. But it's a lot more difficult than you think it is. This is going to be a really challenging thing, and I hope it works out. As well as all the little chips and dings and dongs, and of which this poor part, when you look at it from 10 feet away, it doesn't look bad. When you put it under fluorescent lights, it looks like it has some battle scars. So we're going to do the best we can. The first part of this job, as always, is we got to get it jigged up off the table. And this is a wonderful tip. Rolls of paper towel, rolls of toilet paper, it doesn't really matter. We need to get this so we can work on it. I need to have some space to get the edges. And of course, because we steam cleaned this and we got it as clean as possible, I don't have to deal with that. But what I'll do is I'll go get a brand new set of gloves, a brand new thing of soapy water, so that when I work on this, I don't contaminate it. Now this part of the job actually is pretty smooth. I'm just going to go over it real quick with the sandpaper, but this is what I'm trying to fix too. There's a lot of little divots, a lot of little chips. I'm sure this is from track day. How do I know? Fixing these on my own bike for a long time. Here, so here, and this one here, I've got a CA, and then I've got to start building the paint up. That's a whole separate thing. So as I'm evaluating this, but I want to get, the big one is, I want to get one, because it's still not snowing out there, I want to get one of these areas done that I can get the paint on it, and that can be drying. And once that's drying, if there's any time left, I can just start filling these chips in with raw paint with no thinner. I've saved some of Joe's paint that has no thinner. I can start building up, and this one's got to be CA'd. So, but the whole objective is if we can get this blend here real nice, and I get the whole part scuffed down, I can get clear on it, and at the very end, when we have the decals on that, I can put clear on that, just like we did the other day. I did 2 parts with clear, 2 for the price of 1. Always looking to be more efficient if I can. And for this little operation, we're going to use 2000 Indasa and some nice warm soapy water, and try to work that edge as the first thing, to try to blend that edge in before we do anything else. Now this technique that I'm showing, this worked pretty well on model airplanes. But again, every part is different. We don't know how, I don't even know what kind of paint this is, lacquer, acrylic lacquer, enamel, but we're still feeling our way through on this repair. But I know in the end I'll get it, one way or the other. And the reason we're spending so much time and so much effort These parts are not available basically anywhere. Except maybe Australia. Maybe that guy that has the decals in Australia has a spare set of fairings. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out if those decals get here, when they get here. I shouldn't say if, when. Now, because this is 2000, it's going to take a little bit of effort to get that edge bled down. But we're going to try to feather it in, bleed it in. You can use the words, whatever sounds good to you. But we are not in a position where we can just say, oh, we'll just go buy a new part. So that makes a lot of the decisions on this job really easy in terms of how much effort you're willing to put into something. Well, you know, when you don't have a choice, if you're starving to death in Poland, you know, you'll eat a potato. That's the, if you're in America, you want French fries. I guess, what an analogy, huh? I don't know. Karen seems to think some of my analogies that I belong in a psycho ward, but maybe she's right. Okay, so I wanted to show one in real time, one little area here. The whole idea of what we're doing, the whole idea of making a video is to share this information, which is kind of a lost art for younger people, and they have their own passions. And you can see already that we've got a rough blend. I don't know how that's going to all work out in the final coat, because ultimately you have to bury it in paint. That's the whole trick of doing this. But again, we're going to find out. I'll do the rest of this, and then we're going to have to start the backmasking operation. Well, I'm not sure that feather edge is going to be exactly what I want, but right now I'm in beggars or can't be choosers mode. All right, so I want to go up past this, past where I've actually scuffed this by about 1/8 of an inch. And I want to, let's see, that would give me enough. This is going to be, again, we're all in unknown territory here. There's no, I'm sure professional people that do this to cars all day long, you know, they have tricks that maybe I don't know, definitely don't know. But this is the way I've done the models, and I've repaired a lot of models in my time, as anybody who's a modeler knows. It's probably my claim to fame. I didn't know I was famous until they told me. But anyway, we're going to put tin foil on this now. And then the idea is to shoot this way with the gun, with a dry coat, and try to bury that paint edge. But not build up a lot on this tape, because once this first coat dries, and it's going to have to dry overnight, I'm going to have to move that tape up a little bit and shoot another coat, because what I don't want to have is a step. I don't want the red paint or the primer to come and have a step. I want that to fade in, and just like we've blended, or I will blend in these decals, that when you run your hand over you can't feel them. I want to be able at the end of it, and hopefully the color will be a good match. We don't really know yet until we have a sunny day. But this I think gives us the best chance of having the best repair possible on this part. And I guess there's a reality to this. I guess we're going to find out within a couple days. And special thanks to our late friend and excellent modeler, Walt Prey, who introduced us to the idea, with a professional painter, of using tinfoil for backmasking, and both in modeling and in motorcycles. It has served me well, and I've passed that information on, I'm sure, to many people over the years since we learned it, all from Walt Prey. Thank you, Walt. Okay, doesn't look like it's snowing yet, so I'm going to get the paint in the gun and make sure I don't have anything going up under there. But again, the trick is to shoot this way down, and just I'll tack rag that down and see if it's our lucky day. And if it isn't, well, you know, sometime we win, sometime we lose. Before I go out there and spray this, I try to tack rag it down, make sure it's perfectly clean. This is going to be a race with the weather to try to beat the really crappy weather that's supposed to come in here later today. I hope we win. Now I'm in fast forward here, and I'm only going to get a chance, because this has to dry between coats overnight. Only going to really get a chance to spray one coat on this, but I did try carefully not to build up a big paint edge. The big thing here is not to have a big step where one paint ends right at the tape. Now, if you look at this close, and we have a little bit of sun coming out. You can actually see where the line ends, where the primer ends. What's going to happen now, tomorrow, I'm going to move that tape up and do the same thing along that edge, because now I'm not dealing with the darker primer, I'm dealing with the red, and then do another fade and maybe a third one. So this repair itself is going to go over the course of 3 days, but that's the best way I know how to do it. And with snow coming, I was very glad to get this part of it done. Well, the bottom line is I think we got a pretty good color match, and in everything. I've checked it in fluorescence, I've checked it in the cellar, in the garage. I have not checked it in bright sunlight. I'm not sure that's going to be as good of an adventure as I thought it would. But it's going to be Joe's decision, so I'm not going to deal with it. Now, we've reached a point today that, and it's interesting that we reached this point at a very unexpected time. I really have to make a lot of corporate decisions. The wheel has to dry minimum 2-3 days before I start manhandling it. This part, I need the decals from Australia. This part, I'm going to just have this fade away thing. And once I'm happy with this, then I'll do all those other little repairs. That'll be another session. But we're going to ultimately come up on a day that we need a big chunk of a day to put decals on and clear. And that's big heavy duty work days. So as I'm looking at it, I'm hoping we don't get snowed in again. We really had a week of terrible. And they're predicting more. I don't know what I can say about that. But anyway, what I'll try to do is at the end of this video put some interesting pictures of things we've done, our adventures. A lot of people are not familiar with the A-Team and the adventures we had over the years. And there were plenty of them. And it was fun. I love looking back at them. I'm so glad I took all these pictures. I'm so glad I took pictures of my grandson. I took pictures when we were working on his house. Every part of it is a great memory for me. Maybe you could relate to that too if you take pictures. Anyway, I want to thank the healthcare workers. Number one, what allows us to even do this work or not be in a hospital ward, or even worse, is the effort of the healthcare workers. Now in New Jersey this time of year, there's still a problem. Restaurants aren't open, you can't go anywhere and whatever. But I'm hoping we're on the mend. Let's really all hope and pray we're on the mend. So thank you, healthcare workers. Now, in the next couple days, I'm going to be making some corporate decisions, what I want to do, how I want to do it. It'll be fun to follow along if you're so inclined, and share the adventure and the passion we have for these old motorcycles. So I hope you did enjoy the video, and thank you so much for watching. Now, we do try to post up something new every day, whether it's from our projects that are underway, like these right now, or what I'm going to try to put on this video at the end after our visit with the puppy.
Oh, you are. Oh, sweetie.
Now, we try to include our friends, of course, and needless to say, that puppy is growing every day. He's getting to be one of our best friends. Anyway, this is a little photo show with a couple of little short videos that I have from a really, really nice day. And I say it's at one of the A-Team adventures. We went up to a place in Monticello. I think it was Middletown, not Monticello. I'm not sure. And it was called the Oil Spill. Joe Roselli set it up. We drove up in Charlie's car, and we got to see a beautiful supply of custom and one-of-a-kind bikes. And I think the purpose of this was that the business, you would do an oil change on your bike or show you how to do it. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I was overwhelmed just taking pictures of bikes this day, and because we try to socialize with people we haven't seen in a long time, we really did enjoy seeing a lot of these exotic bikes. There was some pretty cool stuff here. And of course, the people there that run this, it was called the Oil Spill. What they do is they try to help you, work on your bike. I know some of these pictures are a little awkward, but some of them they're worth having. And I wanted to put the whole thing on video because a lot of these people watch the video with their friends, or they know who our friends are. And some of the older Ducatis, I know people always want to see the older Ducatis. And they had a real wild collection of stuff up there. I don't know the years of the models. I'm not a Ducati specialist here, but they had some old stuff, and there were some people. This is part of the thing here. They were doing the oil changes or helping you do the oil change. I really don't know. I shouldn't really say it. But we did have a guy that was showing how to repair the clutch on a Ducati, and he was using a technique that we used in, I think I have it later in the video, a technique we used in drag racing of taking the plates out and sanding them down with sandpaper, roughening them up, getting the slick off of them. And it worked in drag racing. I guess they use it in Ducati repairs too. Anyway, some of the cool bikes. To me, the whole thing about one of these meetups is the bikes. I like to see what people are enjoying and what people, there's some for sale and some of the old ones and some of the new ones, the air-cooled ones, some of the ones they've used on the track, and some of the ones that, some are for sale, some are not for sale. I guess they're all for sale if you have enough money, you know. That's what Luciano says anyway. Everything's for sale. Anyway, we really did enjoy this day, and it was a special day, and we got to meet some new people. Now, somewhere on this, and I don't know exactly where it is because it's a photo show, somewhere on here, we actually got to meet NEJAT for the first time, and he's become a friend for, I don't know how many years now, a lot of years anyway. And we got to meet him for the first time. We got to hang out with him and find out his skill set. And by the way, before I go into NEJAT, this particular bike, that yellow bike, appears in this photo show later on. That was you don't see it in the video or in the photo show, but that bike was absolutely show quality. There wasn't one rusty bolt, one anything on it. That bike was, I was jealous of how much time the guy must have spent cleaning and polishing and doing all these things. Anyway, there are a lot of track bikes, a lot of the older Ducatis, and I think this is during the time Charlie was having, he had a bike, looks exactly like this bike, in fact. He was having restored by them. I think it's since been restored, but I'm not sure. That was one of the things. He was always very, very happy to have one of the older Ducatis. I guess a lot of these guys love the older Ducatis. Hey, to be honest, I like them too. But again, I only have so much room in my garage, and I only have so much life left. Here's another picture of that yellow Ducati. You really can't see it. And I'm sorry I didn't take more close-ups of it because it looked like the guy had, number one, a show quality paint job. And he went around the wheels, the sprockets. I think he had every polished anodized part that they make for those bikes on that. It really was something special. Now there's a couple of these bikes, the 999s, and this one had a custom gas tank. Somebody told me this tank, how many thousands of dollars they paid for it. It was all one-of-a-kind parts and custom this and that. And the seat even, I guess, was a custom seat. But you look at this, and I can't really tell because I don't know which, I'm not familiar with the individual years of the bikes. But again, it was really cold that day. Didn't bother us at all. We were hanging out and drinking coffee. Here's Joe Roselli. And some of the people were actually, I guess they lived locally. They were coming in by motorcycle. And by the way, this day just turned out to be an exceptional adventure. I do remember it, and this is why I always love taking all these pictures. Without these pictures, a lot of this stuff would be lost to me. I'd even forget it. But this way we can share it with our friends, share it with other people, maybe share it with other people we never even met. Hey, I hope you enjoy it. And again, the people there were very nice. I can't say enough about how nice they were. They were helping people work on their bikes, and I'm sure this was a good way of promoting their business. And I did like some of the older Ducatis, I have to be honest. Some of these bikes really, these old guys, if I was going to have one, this is one of the ones I'd like to have. But I know they're a fortune, and I'm not delusional about what money they spend for these things. Anyway, and I still love my MT-09, don't get me wrong. But I did enjoy seeing how some of the real expensive bikes, you know, some of the people, here's the guy putting a clutch in, and I was talking to him about how we used to do this back in the day of drag racing, and he agreed that's a great one. I don't think they drag race these bikes either. Look at all the little parts he put on this Ducati. There's that yellow Ducati again. Here's their back room, and they had a lot of exotic bikes back there, and I try to take pictures of everything because I know ultimately years go by and you kind of, this stuff gets, you forget about it. You don't even remember it. And then all of a sudden you look at these old pictures and they're priceless. And you say, wow, I wish I would have shot more pictures back then. I wish I had pictures there. I remember several of the bikes as I'm going through here because I looked at them close, and some of the bikes here, they were making fun of this poor guy. He had big chicken strips on his bike. And I guess they were poking fun at certain people. I don't really remember who was poking fun at who, but it doesn't matter. We're all in it for having a good time. And it seemed like the thing I remember about the day, the atmosphere there was just wonderful. Everybody was hanging out. Everybody was sharing good stories on who was this and who was that and who had the most anodized parts on their bike and who had a custom this or a custom that or a one-of-a-kind wheels and some of the bikes were really beautiful too. And I focused in on that one yellow one, and that was really a special bike. That was real. There's NEJAT, by the way. And we did actually, this is the day we met NEJAT. They were working on his bike, and here he is looking like he's, I don't know, he's going to fire the guy or something. Anyway, it was a wonderful thing meeting him that day because we've become lifelong friends. And he is one special person. Actually, he donated some of his old GoPro cameras to our cause years ago. And well, years ago, not that long ago, but he had a Triumph. I think this is one of the Triumphs he's had, or maybe it's the only one he's had. And he actually was the first one I saw that had one of those really cool tank bags that goes onto the gas cap, which now I have and Vlad has and many other people. But it's the memory of having old pictures that brings back the memory. These are A-team memories. These are memories that I don't think are ever going to come again. I think some of us have moved on. Some of us have moved away. Bob Navola's moved to Georgia, and other people have other things going on in their life where we don't get to see them a lot. But having these memories, there's NEJAT again, and having memories of times gone by. Here's that clutch that the fellow was pulling apart, and there it is. And he was impressed that I knew about doing that. I don't know why though. There's Charlie buying some Ducati parts and stocking up on coffee. Joe and Charlie, and we had a great time, and I want to thank Joe and Charlie both. We really did share an exceptional day this day, and thank you guys if you do get to watch this video. I hope it brings back great memories to you, but from the day, and it's amazing, we did get to meet NEJAT, and again, a lifelong friend. So I hope you did enjoy the video and the little photo show, and I hope you'll share the passion of motorcycling. And thanks so much for watching.